In this video, I'm sharing my top 3 exercises for building a long and strong lower body. One exercise for the hip flexors, the adductors and glutes, and the hamstrings that you can use to get more flexible from just a few minutes per day. I've been following this approach for the past 6 months whilst I've been focused on some more lifting sort of goals. This does mean that when selecting these exercises, there's a certain criteria that they need to meet. Low fatigue, accessible, minimal equipment, and time efficient. We'll get into the programming advice at the end, but first let's start with the hip flexors and the long lunge. Effective from beginner to advanced to peel back those layers of the hip flexor and work towards movements like the front split. However, you need to make sure that your hips are in the right position to make the most out of this one. Start off with lunge position with the hands supported in front, and you need to think about posteriorly tucking the hips. So pull the belly button in and squeeze your glute and try to make your butt as flat as possible. Keeping this position, you're then going to try and lift the rear knee and straighten that back leg. Then you're lifting into extension actively. When you understand how to properly pull your leg into extension, this might be enough of a stretch initially, but if you can, try to lift yourself a little bit further upright, supporting on the leg, and then eventually performing fully unassisted, and then trying to hold that long lunge position. From here, we can try to go deeper, and this involves basically sliding that lunge back, and this would be a yielding isometric. Focus on placing the pressure on the little toes and then keep wiggling back until you struggle to maintain that hip position. Here are a few other variations that you can try to spice up with all the same principles and form cues applying to those. Next up, let's open the adductors and the glutes with the horse stance. This one is a foundational posture in many martial arts, especially wushu. We're going to use it to integrate in our squat mechanics, so hip rotation, hip flexion, and build strength and length in the adductors. Like the long lunge, the quality, how you do this one really does matter. Start with the feet together and then step the heels out, then the toes, and then repeat again in a total of 5 times until we reach that 5-step horse stance. This is a great place to start, and you can then try to squat down as far as you can. We're aiming to get those thighs close to parallel here, so if you're struggling, just bring the feet in closer slightly. A lot of people here want to try and stick their butt backwards and hinge too much at the torso, challenging more kind of the hip flexion. Instead, we want to think about pushing the knees forward, lifting the chest up, and then trying to pull them out, targeting on opening the hips into abduction. I like to think of this one more like an active version of the frog stretch on the floor. Again, just holding this one, suffering here with people in the martial arts world holding this for 3-5 minutes plus. Adam, the Pioneer, has a really great video on this one, so I'll link to that one down below. Finally, everyone's favorite, the hamstrings, but I want to incorporate the entire posterior chain with the Jefferson curl, specifically the Zercher variation. Out of all of these movements, this is probably the only one that benefits from having some external load to help pull you deeper. In this instance, I'm gonna go for 1 molly as a good level to start. Feel free to adjust based on your training experience. We want to curl down from the head, so vertebrae by vertebrae, and it's very important to try and keep the hips tucked right until the end before we then anteriorly rotate them, so the opposite of the long lunge, and then reach our max hamstring stretch. I like the Zercher because you don't need to find any elevation or equipment. You're naturally sort of reaching the elbows down, and at the bottom of each of these reps, you can pause for 3, 5, 10 seconds, like try to wiggle about a bit, find where that maximum hamstring stretch is. Reverse this motion back up, so starting by tucking the hips under first and then working back up the spine to the top. I will note here that if your pike flexibility looks a little bit more like this, then you probably want to actually work on just doing a neutral spine good morning instead. We need to properly understand how to articulate the pelvis to lengthen the hamstrings before we are able to make the most of doing a Jefferson curl. So how do we use it? Well, the nice thing about these drills is we can do them in a variety of different ways. You can do these every single day if you want to, if that's personally how it fits in with your routine, or you can do it like 1 to 2 times per week, but the application is slightly different. As they're isometrics, their reasonably low load is great on a daily basis, and it really demands that extra flexibility from you. I would say trying to accumulate 1 minute per position per day, but you could kind of work up to 2 to 3 minutes, just breaking this up into smaller chunks as you need to achieve that whole time. For those looking to do just sort of 1 to 2 sessions per week, we are going to need to condense the amount of training, the volume you're doing into those sessions. 2 or 3 up to 5 sets of around 30 to 60 seconds is a very potent stimulus. And then loading these movements with some dumbbells or barbells and kind of tipping the scales more towards that strength end of the spectrum, because you have the ability to recover more. So these are 3 movements that, let's be honest, if you spend a lot of time on each of them, you're going to have an extremely supple, bendy, and strong lower body through every single range really that you could possibly need. As always, if you did find this one helpful, if you have some comments or want to share your own opinion, maybe your 3 exercises that you would recommend, variations, let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear from you with this one. Otherwise, please hit that thumbs up button to support the channel, and the subscribe button is right down below. Otherwise, catch you next one. Have a strong week.